Hi, it's Stan Phelps. I want to share a story from the third book in the Goldfish series. It's called The Golden Goldfish. It followed the purple goldfish, the green goldfish, and the final ode to Mardi Gras, the golden goldfish. And it's about the idea of the vital few and the idea that all customers and all employees are not created equal. And in the introduction to the Golden Goldfish, I shared a story from one of the most legendary speakers, the late Zig Ziglar. And Zig used to tell this amazing story about a young newlywed couple. They moved into this tiny little small apartment, and it was their first holiday together. And they decided to go big for their holiday dinner. They ordered a nice roast to share. And as they were prepping in the kitchen, the husband noticed that the wife cut off about 20% of the roast and put it into the garbage. And he said, "Whoa, wait a second, that's perfectly good. Why did you do that?" And she said, "Well, when I was young and my mother taught me how to make a roast, that's how she did it. And so that's how I learned." And so he really didn't want to make any waves. He just kind of filed it away. And little, 3 years later, they end up moving into a starter home. And the holidays roll around again. And now they've got a bigger house where they can entertain. So they have both sets of the in-laws come over. And what do they have for dinner? Another magnificent roast. And again, the husband sees the wife cutting it off, and he just makes a note of it. And later that night after dinner, they're all kind of relaxing, and he leans over to his mother-in-law and says, "Let me ask you a question. When your daughter makes the roast, she cuts off about 20% and throws it away. She mentioned she learned it from you. Why do you do that?" And she thought for a second. She said, "Well, when I was young and growing up, and my father used to make the roast, that's what he did. That's how I learned how to do it." And so he kind of filed it away. And sure enough, 5 years later, now they've got 2 kids and they're in a much bigger house because they need more room. And the holidays roll around again. And now the entire extended family comes over for the holiday dinner for another holiday roast. And again, he watches his wife cut off a piece. And at the end of an amazing night, he thinks about it again and he pulls his wife's father aside. Her grandfather aside and says, "Hey, Pop, let me ask you a question. When we made the roast, we cut the end off. I asked my wife, she said that's how her mom had learned to do it. And she mentioned that's how you had taught her to do it. Why did you cut off the end of the roast and just throw it away?" And he thought about it for a minute, and then a big smile came across his face. And he said, the pan was only so big. That was the only way to fit the roast in to be able to make it. And to me, it's a great metaphor for the way that we've always done stuff in the past may not apply as we go forward. And one of the biggest pet peeves I have is this acronym. I'm a big acronym fan. This acronym is called TITWADdy. And TITWADdy stands for, "This is the way we have always done it." I think that reasoning is flawed. I'm going to share a takeaway from the book, The Golden Goldfish. It's in fact the greatest lesson I learned when I went to law school. And the rule is this, or the takeaway is, when the reason stops, therefore should stop the rule. So just like there was a reason why you cut off the end because the pan was small, once the pan gets bigger, that reason and that rule should end. So that's my challenge to you. Which rule are you going to break going forward? Because the reason for it no longer exists.